Man against man, machine against machine, burning rubber for racetrack glory. This is the only truck racing championship in India.
Speed is fantastic. It's incomparable to whatever I have seen till now.
F1 race और truck race दोनों के अंदर बहुत difference है, लेकिन फिर भी इसमें इतना fun है. We never expected this.
I think it's an amazing concept in truck racing.
Ever since it was introduced in 2014, the Tata Motors T1 Prima Truck Racing Championship has become a great platform to showcase the prowess of the Indian commercial vehicles industry and that of Tata Motors, the country's largest commercial vehicles manufacturer.
So the T1 Prima Truck Racing Championship is an idea which was born about 4 years ago when we were sitting in a workshop trying to look at what Tata Motors should do to build on its image, which was very strongly Indian. It was a company which had developed the trucking industry in India. But at a time when a lot of global companies were coming in, we were looking at ways and means to convince our customers or communicate to our customers that while we are very heavily steeped in the Indian market and the Indian tradition, the brand had a lot of capability and could also be looked at as somebody who can match with anybody else who came into the market. So one of the ideas which was touted at that time was the idea of starting truck racing.
The race held at the internationally acclaimed Budh International Circuit has been giving Indian audiences an opportunity to witness a grand spectacle of truckers competing against each other.
I think it's a one of a kind. It's the first homegrown, let's say, activation stroke event of this kind by any corporate worldwide. Okay, any motorsports event is normally run by an association and brought into the, and it's not even an event that has been done similarly across this. It's not something we borrowed. It is something that we set up from scratch. So we started with a blank sheet of paper. We knew where we were headed towards it, and we started building it block by block. How do we get sponsors to make it a financially viable event for us? Okay, once you do this, then how do you get audience to fill the stands? F1 during its last season in India drew over 22,000 people. Okay, so you can imagine the challenge we had in trying to get audience to come and fill up the stands. The last season we clocked 56,000 people. So these were one of the various challenges that we faced, and we put them all together. And even from an entertainment perspective, okay, if you have 12 trucks, okay, then what do we do? How do we make it interesting for the entire family? Then the concept of marrying the sponsors to team trucks based on the IPL format came in. Okay, so we used our domain knowledge across other categories and imbibed this into a one-of-a-kind event.
To have a world-class global sporting event also means that it has to have the right infrastructure, manpower and solid engineering capabilities. The trucks have had to undergo lots of body modifications under technical expertise.
So the modifications were actually a mix of meeting the safety as well as part of racing challenges we see. The key modifications which were done in it was brake cooling system, it was propeller shaft guard, it was about seat belts, it was about fuel tank which we have done, exhaust you have to change, steering wheel and so on.
The Tata Primas are big, beautiful and incredibly fast. For the Indian motorsports fan, the T1 Prima Truck Racing Championship Season 1 to 3 was a spectacle which has evolved the motorsports culture in the country. The first season saw over 25,000 people witness the first ever truck racing championship at the Budh International Circuit. The T1 Primas left the thousands of spectators thrilled and spellbound by its sheer power and technological prowess.
You take up a small piece and then you magnify it. So we had the Prima, which was the world truck. So you took it and you create an event like this for the trucking community, okay, which includes all the stakeholders. And then you showcase them what the trucking today is actually in the marketplace.
"12 trucks divided into 6 teams went head-to-head to claim for the maiden T1 Truck Racing Championship title here in India. Among those driving these mean machines were top British truck racing drivers. The battle was fought in 2 stages, a sprint race and a main race. Motorsports is an excellent way to highlight what goes into the making of a truck from Tata Motors, in terms of adoption of world-class CV designs, manufacturing practices and technologies, for having showcased advanced performance engineering solutions for fast and powerful trucks.
Truck racing is about technology. In fact, the racing application is probably the most strenuous vehicle application, whether it is two-wheelers or cars or trucks. And the fact that Tata Motors can build vehicles which can withstand the race conditions, which are not very different from the rest of the world, establish our capability also. So I think we are getting a lot out of it, and we intend to continue getting a lot out of that.
In the Season 2 of the T1 Prima Truck Racing Championship, the Tata Prima race truck had 10% increased speed up to 130 km per hour, 10% increased acceleration and 10% weight reduction along with a new aerodynamic design. 12 Tata Prima trucks, 6 teams and 1 Super Racing Championship. The massive and powerful T1 Prima trucks proved to be a treat for motorsports enthusiasts with 45,000 spectators.
First of all, I think the fact that it is held in BIC, which is the Indian gold standard for a motorsport track, and I believe while the car races may have stopped in India, I believe the track is equivalent to one of the best in the world. And this is from people who have seen other tracks. So I think the fact that we are able to keep the BIC interested in this property and getting crowds in year after year shows that there is a lot of Indian interest. In fact, the first 1 or 2 years, we had a lot of traditional car racing drivers. Past, we actually recognized some of them. After seeing the truck racing, they felt that they would want to get interested in that. So when the question of Indian truck racing came, the easy option was to look at people who are already in motorsport, say people like Karun Chandokar, Narayan Karthikeyan, and put them into trucks. We said, but that would be a bit too easy. We will do that some other time, but they were interested. So we said we must put first our transporters in. So I think among people who are following racing of any kind in India, this is definitely on the calendar. It is on the FIA calendar.
The second season concluded in grand style with some intense racing, edge-of-the-seat action, overtaking high-speed corners which had the audience roaring with every twist and turn in the racetrack. Motorsports in India sure is evolving and gaining higher recognition. To leverage this exciting platform, Tata Motors, in association with the Federation of Motorsports Clubs of India and the British Truck Racing Association, decided to introduce the T1 racing in India in 2014.
Now, truck racing is a European concept. It started in Europe 20-25 years ago. And actually, most of the brands which are participating are the big European brands who are coming to India around that time, about 2012-13. At the same time, F1 car racing in India was catching on. So we caught upon this idea of let's look at how we can bring truck racing into India. We got in contact with our partner, Madras Motor Sports Club, who contacted the FIA on our behalf. And soon we found that this is something which was a workable concept. The last event, we had about 50,000 people participating. Tata Motors, as a leading truck company, is getting a lot of brand consolidation. But this is something which leaders do, and we are doing it. And we are making the lives of our drivers also quite aspirational in the process.
Tata Motors has partnered with some of the leading names in the racing, I would say, sports industry. With whom from day one we have worked very closely. One such name is Vicky Chandhok. Vicky is a former president FMSCI. Vicky has been associated with us from day one to develop the program, to bring it even to the execution stage, what we see now, and over the years. Vicky has been, part of this from day one. So Vicky Chandok is there. Steve Holm. Steve has played a very important role in this entire exercise. We have Karun Chandhok. Karun is one of the only two drivers who have been participating in Formula One driving.
Raising the bar higher, Season 3 had action, drama and excitement packed into every lap. The event drew some of the biggest names from the music and entertainment industry who kept the 50,000 fans swaying to their beats. Season 3 saw the introduction of the T1 Racer program, wherein the best drivers were selected and evaluated through stages of training before they hit the racetrack.
When we first thought of this, it felt like a very daunting task ahead of us. But the moment we kind of decided that we were going to go ahead with it, we quickly involved a couple of our key stakeholders, motorsports management, as well as Accenture, one of our key stakeholders in the. We got them together, we started discussing on how we could make this possible, and the moment we broke it down into simple steps, there were just 4 key steps that we needed to take care of, and we did that in a very systematic manner, and lo and behold, it was there and up and running in the first year. One was around clearly the sourcing of the drivers. We needed to decide where we are going to get the drivers for this kind of a racing program, because obviously there are no drivers in India who are truck racing drivers. Second was around the shortlisting of these people. We need to put in place a process by which we could shortlist these drivers for the racing program. Third was around the training design itself, because obviously these are people who have been driving trucks on the roads, and you need to transform these people into becoming race drivers, truck race drivers on the F1 track, and therefore there needed to be a certain design of the training content and delivery of it to these people so that they could be able to do it on the race day. And fourthly, it was around the program management itself, because in a very short period of time you needed to, right from the sourcing of the drivers to the selection of the drivers to the actual training, imparting the training and getting them ready for the race day is a mammoth exercise in terms of working together with so many people and making sure that the entire program gets delivered.
Conceptualized by Tata Motors, the T1 Racer program, or TRP, is based on the company's strategic objective of making the profession of truck driving aspirational.
Very clearly, when you look at this group of people, the truck drivers, they're not very much regarded in society. And one of the things that they always face is, whether it's even within their family or their society, they don't even want to tell their children that they are truck drivers. And that's the kind of perception that people have around the profession itself. So for them to become a race driver, a truck race driver, was a big shift, a big upliftment for themselves. So it made them feel proud. It made them feel proud within themselves, within their families, within their societies, and it kind of really made them want to become a truck driving racer. So that was clearly one of the most principal motivators for them to become a truck racer. The second was around, somewhere along the way they would also want to become, have a better life. And they felt that this was an opportunity for them to kind of realize some of their dreams in terms of having a better quality of life. And the third was really around the fact that they were getting an opportunity to drive a Prima truck on the racetrack which is the famous international F1 racing track that we have. To be there itself, the thrill of the Prima truck racing on that track was something that it's like a dream come true for them. So it was very clearly a huge motivation for these people to actually get into this. And in fact, during the second TRP racing program, we actually got so many calls from various people saying that they would want to participate in this on their own. That was the kind of interest that it generated, and there were so many people who were enthusiasts who wanted to get into this. But we were very clear, we wanted to actually use the common truck driver from the roads to actually transform into a race driver, because we wanted to give this opportunity for this set of people to uplift them in society.
This time around, the trucks had a massive power output of 400 bhp at 1700 rpm and top speed of over 130 km per hour. The trucks had improved shock absorbers, new brake cooling system with jet nozzles, with the truck's center of gravity reduced by 100 mm. From heroes of the highway to heroes of the racetrack, Indian drivers Jagat Singh and Nagarjuna A created history by winning the race in the super class category.
मैं तो सबसे पहले ये बात बोलना चाहूँगा कि जब हम मेन रोड पे गाड़ी लेके निकलते थे, उस टाइम पे अगर जिसकी वैल्यू 5 पैसा है और जिसकी वैल्यू 5 करोड़ है, वो भी एक ड्राइवर को ऐसी नज़र से देखता था, पता नहीं इसकी कोई जाति है या कौम है या नहीं है। लेकिन आज मैं दुनिया वाले से कह सकता हूँ कि ड्राइवर की बहुत अच्छी जात होती है, बहुत अच्छा उसका वो होता है, बहुत ऊंचाई तक वो जा सकता है। मैं दुनिया को यही कहना चाहूँगा।
मैं 2 महीने से कर रहे हैं प्रोग्राम, अच्छी प्रोग्राम है सब ड्राइवर के लिए। टाटा मोटर्स सब ड्राइवर, दुनिया में कितना ड्राइवर है, सब टाटा मोटर्स को धन्यवाद देना पड़ेगा।
David Jenkins of Team Tata Technologies took top honours in the final 20-lap race, with Rick Collett and Graham Powell, both from Team Tata Cummins, taking second and third place respectively.
The weekend, the event as a whole has been absolutely amazing. It's an honour to be back here racing at the Buddha International Circuit and driving the Tata Prima, and especially for Tata Technologies. My team this weekend have worked tirelessly. They had some damage to fix last night and then tyres to change all day today, and they've done a brilliant job, and it's just been an honour to be invited back here again for the 3rd year running.
It was a long race. At one stage I was last and I fought my way back up, back to second. I was hoping to get a free run at Dave, but I kept getting beaten up by my teammate.
Absolutely fantastic. The guys at Tata Motors have done such a good job with bringing the trucks on over the last three seasons. They're so much more drivable now than what they were in season 1, and hopefully the technology program continues and we get faster, and hopefully it's an honour to be invited to drive in front of the fantastic crowd and the fans and the teams. I mean, they're just so passionate for it. Yeah, it is an honour.
This year, Tata Motors is back with Season 4 of the T1 Prima Truck Racing Championship, and it too promises lots of high-voltage action and racetrack drama.
This year, what is interesting is that we are having European drivers. Okay, to give you an analogy, if the first 2 seasons or first 3 seasons, the international races were of British drivers, let's say it was another circuit to the BTRE circuit. This season is going to be a European truck racing circuit extension, because you're going to have the best of Europe racing. Okay, that itself is going to be a much more, hopefully a mind-blowing exercise compared to earlier, because now you're going to have 12 top, like I mentioned, the human skill, going to make a huge difference hopefully this year. And apart from that, we have, let's say, the Z Zarikama contestants coming to for the audition round, which is a media deal that we've had. Okay, then we have Akshay Kumar coming in. So a lot more interesting stuff in store for the audience this time. So every year we're going to be different.
Keeping with its commitment of making trucking aspirational for Indian drivers, Season 4 will feature also TRP2, the second edition of the Indian Truck Drivers Race, along with international drivers competing to become champions of the racetrack come March 19.
Season 4 of the T1 Prima Truck Racing will have 3 major categories. First is super class. So this year we will have this super class. It's picking up from the beginners. What I said was 3,380 people. After that we had thorough screening process. These people went for various checks. What are the basic, racing qualifications we should have, and we picked up about 190 from there. They have gone through a rigorous training process on the racing event particularly, and from there finally around 10 would be racing. Number 2 is champion class. If you recollect, last year we picked up final 12. So this year from 24, out of that, we are picking this time 10 again. Third would be pro class. Now these are hardcore British, Europeans, German, Czech Republic, France. These drivers, 12 of them, they are basically the driving professional racers who would be doing this. So we would have, in short, 3: super class, champion class and pro class.
I think there will be a healthy competition between 6 British drivers and 6 European drivers. While they will be across teams, the fact is that there will be some new competition as a result of that. And in addition, we'll have entertainment. I think the race is becoming more serious, so entertainment will cap at a certain level, but otherwise I think overall it will be an excellent day for both people who love sports and people, of course, who love motorsports.
So who will be crowned champions of the racetrack? Which Indian trucker will create history again? Get ready for some Junoon-e trucking in India's premier truck racing championship. Catch all the action and behind-the-scene highlights and more only on Times Now.